creating illicit emotions into people. The market is emotion based. So if you can predict the sort of stories that are going to occur, then you can sort of make money off the market, I guess. I've never done it, but it's narrative creation. It's what do you think? It's a theory of mind, right? Like the mind of everyone. What do you think the mind of like this population, the psychometric profile of this population in this country, and will respond to this narrative that's being created?
You're absolutely right, because when I do my fundamental analysis, part of like when I do a technical breakdown, I think how would I think if I was in a position where I'm trading enough fund to move the markets, or how do I think institutions are going to move their assets? So yeah, I mean, definitely. So the next biggest narrative for like right now in the second quarter, right? What are the biggest hot topics? What's the monetary policy going to look like? So I like what you said. Yeah, that's pretty much how I think as well.
I've been hearing the end of 2026, beginning of 2027, maybe even earlier, maybe the end of 2025, they're going to be really automating androids and automating a lot of processes. Maybe 70% of all white-collar jobs will just be automated. So those are some of the it's pretty crazy trends if you really think about it.
Kind of depressing to think about.
I mean, if you think about the robots that are supposedly going to take our jobs, it's like, okay, well, those parts come from China. They're assembled here or they're assembled somewhere else.
And that's why you need the tariffs. And that's what this essay is about. It's like a user guide for Mr. Trump and his administration to deploy all the sort of tools. This was written in November 2024. So
but what's your extract? What's your compression?
So this is just like a tool set that the Trump administration, and sort of like a, not really policy recommendation, just sort of like here are the tools that the Trump administration can use to test their theories and then enact and execute policies based on what they want. Like they want greater manufacturing in America, for bacterial-resistant drugs. You don't want your supply chains to be owned by your enemy, right? Like that'd be disgusting. Like really, really gross. So like nearshore manufacturing, onshore manufacturing, reshoring. Like you need people to like kind of oversee like what those automated robots are doing. But
think about the realization, born sooner or later of agonizing experience that its whole relation.
It's a user guide.
For
the incoming administration and the sort of tools that they will use. And if you guys want some more good hypnosis, here's some good informational hypnosis that was posted today, almost an hour ago. China has begun to devalue. Moves are still small, but this is clearly a signal to Washington. After all, the dollar has been falling. So if anything, the yuan should be rising against the dollar to remain stable and trade in weighted terms. But it's falling, and that's a signal.
is falling, or the dollar?
The yuan.
The one, yeah.
Crazy.
This is what Trump tweeted 12 hours ago. Oil prices are down, interest rates are down, slow moving Fed should cut rates, food prices are down, there is no inflation, and the long-time abused USA is bringing in billions a week from abusing countries on tariffs that are already in place. This is despite the fact that the biggest abuser of them all, China, whose markets are crashing, just raised its tariffs by 34% on top of its long-term ridiculously high tariffs, plus not acknowledging my warning for abusing countries not to retaliate. They've made enough for decades, taking advantage of good old USA. Our past leaders are to blame for allowing this and so much else to happen to our country. Make America great again.
Yeah, the dollar's been pretty resilient. I have my eye on the dollar index and oil. Oil's broke briefly under 60. I think it was trading around 59, 58. Gold a little bit below 3,000. It's been doing crazy swings though. It's been going from like 29.98 to 30.30 to back down. And then Bitcoin Asia session on Sunday dropped about $6,000 from 83 to about 77. Today was insane though. 10 a.m. So the S&P opened at 485, right? Typically I don't trade Mondays, but I'm like, okay, if we open at 485, I want to pick up some calls, right? I'll fill the gap. Like we'll do a retest at like 505. I considered it, but I typically don't trade Mondays, right? Just because I like to get a sentiment gauge of what's going to happen throughout the week. 10 a.m. Contracts of the SPY was trading 528 calls, 0-day expirations were trading at 22 cents. Literally 30 minutes later, they were trading at $7. Then an hour later, all contracts were trading anywhere between like $3-4 all the way up to $7. And I'm like, man, whoa. The volatility in the market just made the contracts just super expensive. And then say you want to get into like any indexes, they were trading at like $90 a contract. I don't know. I was just like, I can't risk that much money on a Monday, just because like we haven't even hit CPI, and the CPI numbers come out Thursday. So I'm just like, I might as well just wait till like Thursday to catch a good trade or something. But
So, did you hear this analysis? The yuan's value is managed by the People's Bank of China, called PBOC, under a managed float system, where it's allowed to fluctuate within a controlled band, often pegged loosely to a basket of currencies, with the US dollar being a major component. If they're devaluing it, it's because they're concerned about US tariffs and trying to lower export costs relative to the USD. Trump is over target. Now the poker game begins. Yeah, this is crazy stuff.
it is. It's insane. And then I think the Nikkei, they turn their circuit breakers on. And I think they need to do some do some research on that. But that's crazy.
It's gotten into me recently.
Yeah.
Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, pork, dog, chickens, turkeys, rat, you name it. I really don't know what's gotten into me recently.
I don't trade Asian equities or anything like that, but I was talking to a trader last night. He says the Nikkei, they cut their circuit breakers and like
give you in Massachusetts.
It drops to a certain percentage.
Besides being near a Dunkin' Donuts,
breakers, right? They halt trading just like they do in like certain pumps, right? The GameStop, I think Newsmax,
which places me somewhere in Massachusetts.
I didn't get into the IPO, but certain like overextension, they hit circuit breakers and they halt trading, and they did that with the Nikkei, and they're not going to resume trade till Friday, I believe.
your sense making capability, your sense making organs are done for if you're not able to sort of track real time market predictions. Yeah, it's wow until Friday.
Yeah, there's some articles out right now. Circuit breaker triggered in Japan for stock futures trading. Japan, the Nikkei 225 futures suspended due to circuit breaker. Japan and Taiwan markets hit the circuit breaker as Trump tariff deepens panic. The most that I know right now, they're not going to resume trade until Friday.
This was just an hour ago. China says it will fight to the end after President Trump threatened an additional 50%.
Appeared despite.
Man, it is insane. Like, if you see the markets last night, literally the Nikkei hit 6%. Literally, probably
Life moves pretty fast.
a little under 2 hours. Straight down. Yeah.
I came across this bit of information that said the stock market in the last 5 hours went up and down in value the entire stock market was in the 1980s. Like, it's just so crazy to think about. Like, it's so detached from the real world. I think so financialized.
Yeah, but the stock market and what it's doing is not anything new. I mean, people, I'm 42. I've been looking at the market since 1999, 26 years, and like what we're witnessing is not unexpected, and it's exactly what happened. So we're just living in hyper polarized emotional distribution, meaning that the propaganda and the memes, the feelings, like it's so powerful now in the mind's eye for everyone, that even if you're not even invested, you're concerned about it. It's like it's all communication. I'm telling you, it's it is what it is. People who didn't get out or deleverage, I mean, it's they're the sucker. Like, that's what this market does to people. That's what markets do. I mean, it pulls in the suckers and pulls the rug on them, and they're like, oh fuck.
He lost I think 15 to 20% of his profile, his stock profile, gone. 15 to 25%.
Portfolio.
In an hour. Dave Portnoy, you know who he is?
Yeah.
Barstool Media.
Oh yeah. The CEO. What's his name? Portnoy.
Yeah, Dave Portnoy.
Yeah.
He does like the cheap pizza ratings and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe people consume their gambling content. So trash. Never suck me in. Gambling is for suckers. Losing your money for what?
I mean, gamblers, like, I've gambled in the market, and I've have had like insane days.
Norm McDonald.
Yeah, he's a real gambler. Like, investing in the market is a little less. Yeah, it's different than, because you're dealing with information and data as opposed to like bluffers and statistics. I mean, in my opinion, you can develop a greater intuition.
Get your money out as well. There's always that, like, hey, I'm gonna sell, not make any money, not lose any money, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy real estate, and it can take you a year to 3 years to get out of your property, but with the market, it takes literally 1 second. It's nothing like it.
I consider it more of a risk, right? I don't consider it gambling because it's not like sports betting. Like, I really hate sports betting just because I feel like it's a zero sum, right? If the team you bet on loses, you lose everything. But at least in trading, you can set a risk, right? And really, it comes down to probability. It's something you shouldn't do if you're not like well informed, right? It's about knowing what's going on around you. And like you said, like we agreed on, like, right, like being able to brainstorm or at least get an idea of geopolitics, the narratives, things like that. It's not like if you go blindly in the markets, yeah, that's gambling. But I mean, if you know what you're doing, I mean, it's not really gambling.
It's still gambling in the sense that a lot of people are not traders and they just leave their money with their financial advisor or in their brokerage account and never touch it. And they go, oh, on average, over 20 years, I'm going to get 5%, 6%. So even if there's this big downturn, that's like lazy people who want to fully automate their lives and not, set it and forget it. And that's not a good strategy for, really cultivating and winning. So that's the thing. It's like,
Doge.
you should have sold a month ago.
Doge, do you mind if I read the first two paragraphs of this essay? It's sort of like an introduction. It's pretty good. It's really good knowledge.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So this is the introduction. A user's guide to restructuring the global trading system. America's opinion of how well the international trade and financial systems serve them has deteriorated substantially over the last decade. Among voters, if not among economists, the consensus underpinning the international trading system has frayed, and both major parties have taken policies that aim at boosting America's position within it. With President Trump, so this was written in November 2024, so winning re-election with a strong Democratic mandate, over like 1.9 million people voted for Trump, which is kind of crazy to think about. Kind of crazy, especially with the whole sort of like media consensus reality tunnel that they were trying to build. People were really breaking free from that. It is reasonable to expect the Trump administration to undertake a substantial overhaul of the international trade and financial systems. This essay surveys some tools available for doing so. In contrast to much Wall Street and academic discourse, there are powerful tools that can be used by an administration for affecting the terms of trade, currency values, and the structure of international economic relations. During his campaign, President Trump proposed to raise tariffs to 60% on China and 10% or higher on the rest of the world, and intertwined. So this is what really jumped out at me. Like this is what I really focused my attention on. Intertwined national security with international trade. Many argue that tariffs are highly inflationary and can cause significant economic and market volatility, but that proves not to be the case. Indeed, 2018-2019 tariffs, a material increase in effective rates, passed with little discernible macroeconomic consequence. The dollar rose by almost the same amount as the effective tariff rate, nullifying much of the macroeconomic impact, but resulting in significant revenue. Because Chinese consumers' purchasing power declined with their weakening currency, China effectively paid for the tariff revenue, having just seen major escalation in tariff rates. That experience should inform analysis of future trade conflicts. President Trump has also discussed adopting substantial changes to dollar policy. Yeah, it's really good. It's a good essay. Probably tomorrow I'm going to read it, but really good stuff.
And delicious. Haven't I told you the drill? The drill is, in a few hours, I'll come down here and
Here is a
economist.
sort of
Keep it going.
down to the details.
And tourniquets. Until the very
Why not
last.
come on up on stage?
Some things are best saved for last. Once you're done, I'll prepare your loins and ribs. We fight. Fight not only for tenderness, but mainly for flavor. And flavors change. Every day, our feed makes things.
I really wonder what are some of the
Touring
tools
up to it.
that's like
You'll
the
always
biggest
be
part
cooked to perfection.
he's going to describe that
It's
the
very important to make the administration clear. This is
and also the
beautiful
that a lot of these countries have been going through back channels towards the Democrats saying, hey,
You didn't just say goodbye, though.
you gotta make changes to these tariffs.
What was that you said?
Never turn yourself
There's like a certain law against that. It's a
I believe that's what they
So
call
member
You drop
of the Congress, you're not allowed
and then
to,
you come back and pick it up again.
I think, do sort of trade foreign policy. That's only up to the executive branch, not Congress. Congress only is supposed to be here in America. But I think here there's a lot of back channels from all these other countries saying, hey. And so a lot of these people should be thrown into jail, sent to court. And I don't know, maybe Southern El Salvador would be a little bit cheaper.
That's what you said.
Hannibal is who you need to change.
Oh, I mean, look, who would I manage that?
Hannibal would be the best bait.
Why in God's name would anyone want to meet Hannibal Lecter?
Kill him, Jack. Ding dong. The dragon's dead.
Congratulations, Immortal.
I didn't kill him. Suicide.
I was rooting for you, Will. Came all this way and you didn't get to kill anybody. Put out your hand. Feel this. Now grab it. Feel it. This is our gun. You know it, okay?
Please don't hurt me.
So beautiful. I just stand to watch you burn.
He shot himself in the face. I put my hand in it. He said, fire to the house. He shot himself. Why?
In the end, he couldn't kill you, and he couldn't watch you die. People who study this kind of thing say that he was going to stop because you helped him.
I drew a freak.
You didn't draw a freak. You drew a man with a freak on his back. There is nothing wrong with you.
Put out your hand.
I didn't come just to give you soup. Dean, I guess I'm guilty of liking you. And I know you like me too.
I do.
Well, I can't get rid of it. I've made it work for me. Enjoy the soup.
If I untie you and let you sit up, what would you be doing?
I didn't care as much about it. Could you feel that way? When you scared me with this. Let's just be friends and have a good time and forget about this.
I'm going to tell you something. Two groups of people who choose the nice thing to do.
Hey, John, any other pieces of information that's happened today?
What?
Any other pieces of information or like wisdom that you would think is like pretty cool to share? What,
I was reading Aleister Crowley's Little Truth. It's a book called Little Essays Toward Truth. It's a very interesting book. It's like, you listen to all these I listen to a lot of like God talk and religious debates on here, and yeah, you read this little book on truth, and you're just like, damn, this guy was fucking smart. It's very smart. And
do you think it's sort of like the limbo position of the books that he wrote? There's that book, the Book of the Law.
Mhm.
Then there's also the Book of Lies.
Mhm.
So this would be sort of, sort of a correspondence towards this being limbo in Catholicism. This book.
Limbo?
Yeah, because there's the Book of the Law, which I think would be like heaven, right? Limbo would be this book, the truth that points you to the greater truth, right? That's the name of this book.
Little Essays Towards Truth. It's all about Thelema, which is his metaphysic, and it's all.
Do you know what theosophy is?
Yeah.
What is theosophy?
It's philosophy.
Is it?
What do you think it is?
I thought there was a more, I don't know, I think there was a more like subtle term to it.
All of this shit is philosophy. Theology, metaphysics, epistemology, religion, dogmatism. I mean, philo or philosophy is the love of, I think, wisdom or the love of wonder, something to that extent. Anyways, I'm just pointing out that it's an interesting book and it's very smart. And a lot of people on this app have never read it. I'm kind of talking about Christians or Jews, I guess, in the sense that Jews are unaware that British Freemasonry is essentially Kabbalistic. I mean, I think you were reading Albert Pike's, Morals and Dogma, but it's just mystery religion and esoteric philosophy or occult science, occult wisdom. It's a very interesting topic because everybody's technically like interested in it, but they're not quite there. They're not talking about it on this app. Nobody's really talking about occult philosophy or science, and they don't want to go any further than where they're at because they view it as being negative, where they are engaged in the positive. But the truth is, like, how can you deny books? I mean, if it's from 1900 or 1920 or 30 or 40, it's like, okay, those are external hard drives you haven't uploaded to your computer yet. So how can you have an opinion on a program or a software that you have not installed nor played with? It's like, that was my thoughts. Welcome, CI.
Don't know how to talk. Oh, sorry. I've not been on this clubhouse in like 2 years, but I'm like, we definitely used to call. Well, I had a house. Me and a few of my friends had houses, so where that's all we talked about was esoterics and occult sciences. So I was like, yes, we do talk about, but I don't see. I've been scrolling. I'm like, okay, well, if somebody's talking about trading, or at least something in my wheelhouse, I'm inclined to listen or have a discourse. But I didn't hear the name of the book. I had something in my background that you had mentioned.
It's called Little Essays Towards Truth by Aleister Crowley. It's probably on YouTube. I can get you a link from there.
I'm gonna be like, this is the one Aleister Crowley book that I had heard of.
Would you mind reading a chapter for us?
I'm kind of tapped out right now. It's 10:46 and I'm burned, so I'm gonna pass. But tomorrow morning I probably will.
Do you mind if I read a book?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's called The Fall of Spirituality: The Corruption of Tradition in the Modern World. What do you think about that title? Looks like your analysis. One second, I downloaded this PDF, but it went into my files. Okay, there we go. Sweet. I'm opening it in Adobe Acrobat Reader. Good. All right. Do you guys like reading the preface, or do you just like jumping straight in? I just love jumping straight in. Sometimes the preface, but most of the times I just like to go straight into the juice.
Yeah, it just depends. Because sometimes you read the preface and you're like, oh damn, I'm glad I read this.
Okay, sweet, found it. The development. The question of how one might distinguish authentic schools of wisdom, those with real access to transcendent forces, from the schools that are merely pseudo-organizations, has always been a highly contentious topic among esotericists. So that's sort of like the introduction. And let's just go to the juice. This is all still a preface.
In the name of golden mark desert.
America is probably starving. Use your weapons.
Okay. Wow, this is super long. It's crazy.
For kingdom and glory.
So long. Really long preface. That's a preface still. Oh my goodness.
3 minutes. Get on the way.
Thanks.
Sorry about
Might
that.
be a fucking number.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd eat raccoon, sir.
Knights never wish to kill. It's precisely why I make a great lord to need a man's vassal state. A great knight must lead by
The
example.
supernatural in the modern world is
I'm afraid I must
a
take my leave.
picturesque moment for the equivocal enterprises of all the false mysticisms which mingle materialistic sensuality with spiritualistic
In
confusions.
the name of golden
When
mark
spiritual
desert.
forces are invading everything, it can no longer be said that the modern world is lacking in supernatural. All sorts and varieties of it can be seen appearing, and the great evil today is no longer materialism and scientism.
Neverland, do you have a
It is
cat?
an unbridled
I do,
spirituality,
She's
but
fine.
the true supernatural
The
is
reason she's
the
cold.
more recognized.
I'm very glad that the
Quotation marks
even if
mystery
it's a shy,
envelops everything. It is installed in the somber regions of the ego
You say
and
cats are afraid of
ravages
witches.
at the center of reason. It drives away from its domain. Everybody is ready to reintroduce it everywhere, except in the divine order in which it really resides.
Alfarina,
Thus wrote
friend
the
of Neverland.
Catholic Henry Massis, an uneven and by now somewhat dated work. But these are the words that still carry weight today. Even today, many and thriving are the groups, sects, and movements that devote themselves to the occult and to the supernatural. Such currents, enlivened by every new sharpening of the crisis of the Western world, gather adherents in substantial numbers. Spiritism alone would count millions of them. Exotic doctrines of every kind are imported, and the more these display characteristics of strangeness and mystery, the more they exert fascination.
was enough to be
It
like
might
this,
be
Kimber.
said that every
So like all that.
concoction finds its place in the vessel of spiritualism. Adaptations of yoga, varieties of spurious mysticism, quotation marks occultism at the margins of Masonic lodges, Neo-Rosso, Krishnaism, naturalistic and primitivistic regressions of the fundamental pantheistic kind, neo-Gnosticism, astrological, navigation, era, psychology, mediumism, and such like, not to speak of the aspects of pure mystification and all of this. In general, it is enough that something deviates from what one is conventionally called normal. It is enough that it presents the characteristics of the exceptional, the occult, the mystical, and the irrational, for a substantial number of our contemporaries to become interested with much greater ease than ever before. Finally, even science got involved in some of its branches of psychoanalysis and deep psychology. It is often wound up in promiscuous evocations at the border regions of the I and the conscious personality. A paradox has, moreover, become apparent in all of this. It is precisely certain representatives of those positivistic mysticism, in order to justify and organize themselves, gave themselves over to a systematic denial of any vision of the world containing supersensible elements. Precisely these people in a separate sector indulge in primitive forms of neo-spiritualism, and so the reputation that they have acquired for seriousness in the fields of competency is taken as a validation of these forms and transmutes into a dangerous instrument of seduction and propaganda.
This man is not
A typical case is that of the physicists William Crookes and Oliver Lodge with respect to spiritism. And thus broad segments of the Western world are exhaling a spiritual chaos that makes them strangely alike to the Asiaticized world of Hellenistic decadence, nor are we lacking in our own messiahs in various versions and forms. First of all, it is necessary to orient ourselves to see what the principal causes of this phenomenon are. As its most conspicuous traits, one might point out the general impulse towards evasion. In one of its aspects, the role of neo-spiritualism, doubtless which is the man of today attempts to employ in his evasion of the surrounding world, of the suffocating forms assumed by the civilization and culture of the modern West. And among this path he comes in extreme cases, even to the use of drugs, anarchist bodies, epidemic of sex, or to diffuse varied forms of neurotic overcompensation. At the same time, there are motivations here that one must recognize as partially legitimate. It is not by accident that the beginnings of neo-spiritualism are contemporaneous with the affirmation of the materialist and positivist vision of man and of the world, in its squalor and its soullessness, as well as rationalism. The pretense that abstract reason might banish or regulate everything that follows the deepest strata of being or sight. At the same time, we must indicate that there are forms of traditional civilization and superior sense, capable of effective openings towards the heights. We're speaking above all of the religion that has come to predominate in the West. Christianity, and the fact that itself has ceased to appear as something that has ceased to offer its preference for true transcendence, has reduced itself, rather, Catholicism, to confessional devotionalism and petite bourgeoisie moralism, so much so that one has come to speak of the death of God, to formulate the faith or demonization, I don't know, it's like basically taking the myth out of religion.
And the registered bookkeepers on the
To reduce religious content to social practice, as for example, so-called atheistic Christianity. But suppose that positive religion has failed in its higher function, supposing it has offered little to those who sought more than a faith in a moralistic bourgeoisie and social domestication of the human animal, albeit deliberate spiritual experience. Supposing all this, still it is clear that nothing apart from the intolerance or rebellion can come from the subversive maxims of the latest ideologies, according to which the beginning and the end of men are to be found on this earth. And the goal is a society of production of mass well-being, a society destined, moreover, to become a submitted organ and to be paid for with multiple conditions and mutilations of the personality. Barring the effects of fundamentally degrading processes, there subsists in the depths of human nature the need for something else, at the limits of the supernatural. In every human being, this can be suppressed only up to a certain state. In most recent times, the vice grip is closed by the weight of the factors we have just mentioned. Thus, there arises in many an impulse which faithfully seeks its fulfillment, and its outlet in everything that neo-spiritualism claims to offer, to a certain degree, in a new way, through ideas which seem to grant access to a vaster reality, not only theoretically, but above all as a lived spiritual experience. In the most recent times, one has come to recognize, albeit sporadically, extra-normal as the manifestation of energies, laws, and possibilities beyond those admitted in the late positivistic period. And this fact constitutes another factor of particular orientation towards evasion, which we intend here to deal with. A final, not irrelevant factor in all of this is the awareness, no longer constrained to the special and superior culture, of doctrines of predominantly Oriental origin,
Please tell me,
which
Princess.
promise more than positive Western religions, especially in their most recent drained and enfeebled forms, have been able to offer.
That's my friends now.
This, in short, is the situational conjunction that underlies the fusion of neo-spiritualism. This neo-spiritualism, as we have noted elsewhere, generally displays the characteristics of what Boswell Spengler is called the second religiosity, which manifests itself not as at the center of an organic, qualitative, spiritual civilization, its luminous original period, but rather at the margins of a twilight civilization. Specifically, it appears as a phenomenon that is peculiar to its decline of the West. In light of this, it is necessary to establish fundamental points of reference, which permit a discriminating stance in confronting the variety of neo-spiritualism and any other similar current. In this connection, we must underline that we are above all interested in the part of the spiritualism that does not reduce itself to theories, but which often, without knowing or willing, it includes tendencies favoring the conjuring of forces from the other side, individuals or groups as contact, the cultivation of much normal modalities of consciousness.
My conscience of the best information looks good on the outside. But she has the clap. Yeah, syphilis.
You're a fucking bastard offering me like that. But then you change your mind. Why did you change your mind, Thomas?
Why would you buy a plastic piece of
What in the name of love and my desire?
I want in. Come with you.
Oh, I'm sorry. You weren't invited. Why here?
He says you wanted men and called Shelby.
So what's your compression of that?
Why did Namor not do anything after the blip? Make sure to like and subscribe. The blip cost half of the universe to get dusted. That means a good amount of Namor's people had to have been included in that. And it doesn't seem likely that he was dusted. So in the 5 years after his people vanished, why did Namor not come to the surface to find out what happened to them? Anisha. So in the 5 years after his people vanished, why did Namor not come to the surface to find out what happened to them? I need you to comment on this because I'm curious. Why did Namor not do anything?
How does that feel to know that they love this film so much?
It's great, but I'm dead.
In my culture, they smoke the end. Suave, sipping off pints.
How does that feel to know?
Someone said if you play this sound, your soulmate will
Guess this song. Yes, no, you got it wrong. You even misunderstood what Abdurrahman said, by the way.
Let me Prince
If you look at the
take
development,
dojo. Look at the bottom and just record
if
nicely.
you look at the development,
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we all used to him in these rooms, man, so we don't really take none of that shit. He gonna be friends with trying to be friends with Peso, like give it a couple days.
I never thought absolute.
Veteran candidate. It's like dimensionality. As in, like the geometrical nature of reality.
Both within ourselves and in our relationship with the state. We need to be mindful of both our individual freedoms and the potential for those freedoms to be misused.
So I think that anyone who can continue, the mysticism and the philosophy and the education of people like, Plato or I don't know, Muhammad, Ja'far. I'm not putting them all in the same rank, but I'm saying that at the very least we have to treat them relatively within the same category, where people like Socrates and Plato, they actually believed in progress. There was hardly any progress for 2,000 or 3,000 years before them, but they were actually like, oh, we actually need to progress. We need to be better than our former generations. So I'm always going to support that. And Muhammad was, pardon the pun, he was, very, very, very influential. He was explosive in the peninsula, and he really put a stop to this industrial complex where instead of thinking about why storms form or why earthquakes happen, he began a project which led people to realize there's one unified reality and it's just unfolding. And, encouraging critical inquiry, reflecting, pondering around your surroundings, not being worried to ask questions. So that's it. And to go
Yeah, I peg you more. I think not kafir. I think I'm Munafiq, and Munafiqs tend to change their mind. That's what you were doing.
Yeah, if anyone has anything else to say against Matthew for Matthew.
Yes, sir. I don't believe he's a munafiq because he's doing tadabbur and tafakkur. But I really don't agree with him because he can't call himself Shia, not even me, because he's accepting the evolution. I apologize. And if you accept the evolution, I don't mind, but don't call yourself Shia because otherwise it will show a different picture to people, which is wrong. According to Shiism, because I've been there, done that. So the thing is, I know that they don't